Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Supply Chain News as it happens in real time. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain. And a few times a month, we will be highlighting breaking news that is affecting everyone and how supply chain fits into that. So today, we are breaking trade drama and talking about trade shakeups, what the U.S. China deal means for your wallet and shopping cart. Because the U.S. and China are back at it, and your wallet might be caught in the crossfire. From sneaky tariffs to soaring import costs, what does it really mean for your favorite products? Maybe your holiday shopping, and quite frankly, your sanity. But don't panic yet. We're breaking it all down with hot takes, smart strategies, and insider moves businesses are using to stay ahead. So let's get into it. I want to welcome Jen Morris, founder of Ship Happens, Manish from Growth Catalyst Group of Companies, and Crissy Manwaring from Robertson Marketing, as they are going to be sharing all of their hot takes. So welcome everybody to the show. Let's get right into it with our first question. So the US and China just shook up trade again, but what does that actually mean for your wallet and for your favorite products, maybe for retailers and kind of everybody in supply chain and out there who are dealing with tariffs right now? Jen, I'm going to start with you, then we'll go to Manish and Crissy.
I think what we're seeing is that people are just struggling to stay sane, of course, especially if you're working in the industry. Things are changing so quickly. It's really hard to keep on top of things. But what I'm seeing from an anecdotal perspective is that a lot of people are kind of being like, we're just going to have to react as things happen. We can't do so much speculation because there's too many ways that it could possibly go. So I think what we're going to see is a lot of people just doing their best with whatever is going on, and then trying to come up with some sort of scenario of what will help them, especially through the holiday season.
Well, and I think part of that is consumers heading to TikTok and sharing what they are seeing in their shopping carts, or when they get slapped with a bill from FedEx or DHL for an extra $200.
Yes, I've seen a few of those TikTok videos, and we're not even talking $200. There was a couple of ones that I saw where women had bought dresses and the tariff was $1,000, but the dress was only $800. So they were paying $1,800 for an $800 dress. And they're like, what do I do? And I'm watching this being like, there's really nothing. Either you want the dress or you don't. That's what you have to figure out. So
yeah, I think there's going to be a ton of canceled orders. All right, Manish, what do you think? What are you seeing out there? What does this mean for supply chain, retailers, consumers? What do you think?
Yeah, as Jen mentioned, having tariffs is one thing, but it's all a back and forth, up and down, right? It's on today, it's off today. The percentages are changing as well. And just imagine how quickly the businesses have to adapt to the ups and downs. And at the end, somebody has to pay the cost. And these businesses, in some cases, can absorb portion of it, but otherwise, they could go out of business if they don't tackle it right. So, this question about will the consumers eventually pay? I believe at least a portion of it will have to be passed on to consumers, and prices will go up, and that leads to inflation. So I think that's the biggest fear in the market right now. We saw it a couple of weeks ago, and then when China and US at least started to talk, we saw the impact of that as well. Suddenly it came back up. But remember, it's only for 90 days. We don't know what's going to happen after 90 days. So there's a lot of uncertainty that is impacting the consumers, also the market, and overall economy for us as far as inflation is concerned.
Yeah, and Crissy, what do you think? Because you're in the promotional products industry, and you and I were just talking the other night, and you were like, $1 million container on the water, and all of a sudden overnight there's tariffs on it. Companies are panicking. What's happening out there?
It got really scary because if your goods are already on the water, there's nothing you can do. It lands and you are going to get hit with that bill. And so a lot of customers just said, stop, don't send it, don't ship it. This 90 days gives us a reprieve. You can move your stuff if it's already created, it's branded, waiting on that port, get it over quickly.
Yeah. So talk to us about how tariffs are kind of keeping you up at night, maybe your customers up at night. How are smart businesses dodging the headaches and staying ahead of the game? Because Jen talked about this earlier, right? We're trying to manage these fires on a day-to-day basis, and it changes every single day. So what should people be doing? Or what should retailers be doing?
Down to agility, flexibility, and redundancy in supply chain. Because, We're typically, so China was the place to go. It had the best prices, fastest production, but we've had to pivot quickly. And so we're producing goods in Vietnam, in Mexico, in Asia. And, we're very lucky that we're a global company. So whenever we can, we're producing and distributing in region to try to get around that. But this is changing everything everywhere. It's not just affecting U.S. to China, it's shifting demand globally, which then shifts what resources are available almost day to day.
Yeah. And I think you had a story about the Port of Long Beach. Did you want to share that? Because it's not just, it's not just how we're managing our everyday business. They're seeing it at the ports in a variety of different ways too.
I mean, it is crazy. I have a personal connection with Eris. They're an emission capture barge stationed at the Port of Long Beach. And you have this constant trade that's been going. Vessels come in from China, come to Long Beach. They come in full of containers, drop them off there, pick up the empties. Then they head to Alaska, get fish, head back to China. And in the last few months, they're coming over partial. These vessels aren't bringing over as much cargo. Nobody's been using them. They're still taking back empties. But in these next 90 days, we're going to see a massive demand. They want those vessels coming over fast and furious to deliver the goods that are sitting in China and need to be delivered in the US. And the companies want them.
Yeah.
We've got 90 days of stability that we need to really take advantage of.
And how do we even keep up? Now, Manish, I want to come to you about how tariffs are keeping you up at night. What does that look like? And how are smart businesses kind of dodging those headaches to stay ahead of the game? I want to give one example before we go to you, though. I was talking on Bloomberg a couple of weeks ago about how Apple a couple of years ago moved some of their manufacturing to India. And now they're going to be producing 50% of those iPhones from India to dodge some of those tariffs. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think our customer base, these businesses, very similar. They've come to us and say, hey, we're producing in China. Should we go out? Should we go to a different source? And then not only that, the ups and downs in the US market, there are a few companies that have come to us and say, hey, can you help us launch in Canada, more stable market, so that we can offset some of the impact that we're seeing. So our advice to these businesses is to not constantly change, and which is difficult. It's hard to get in a wait and see mode. But it's like, when kids are playing soccer, everybody follows the ball, right? Which feels like businesses are forced to do that, versus saying, okay, let's come up with a game strategy. Let's understand how the other team plays and come up with a game plan. And so a lot of these discussions are around, hey, how do we fight tariffs? How do you find loopholes? We're saying, hang on, that's outside of our control to a large extent. Tariffs are going to happen. They're going to happen. Let's focus on what you can control, what you can improve. I think I'll give you one big example. One is a lot of these companies don't have good demand forecasting in place. So if you're producing too much, guess what? You're going to pay a lot more tariff than you have to based on your demand. On the other hand, if you don't have enough, you may not be able to fulfill the orders and your revenue might get impacted. So that's one of three major areas that we help them. Hey, let's look at how accurate is your demand forecast, and let's help you get the right algorithms in place to figure out, are you buying the right quantity to begin with? The second one is operating costs in general. Yes, there are tariffs, but this is a great opportunity for you to start to look at, are you healthy otherwise? Are you using the right ship methods? Do you have the right labor? Do you have your facilities in the right locations and so on? So we're encouraging companies to start to get better as far as their financial health is concerned, and you'll be able to fight better. And then the third one is, I think the SG&A, your overheads, your fixed cost, to start to look at, hey, how can you improve that as well? All that to say, if you're financially healthy, you'll be able to ride these waves much better, while you still have to do the short term. As things change, you have to adapt as you go. So those are some of the advice that we're giving to the businesses overall.
I think that that's great advice. It's really hard to sort of predict what is going on right now. And you're right. What is it about the rest of the business that we can take a look at and focus on and kind of figure out? Jen, I want to bring you into this conversation as a fellow Canadian. I think you're probably excited to hear that people are looking at Canada. But talk to us about rising import costs. Like, have they got you stressed? Have they got, maybe your customers stressed? How are they talking about and thinking about keeping prices down? Manish just did a great job of sharing some ways that they can do that. But I want to hear from you, because you're a globe trotter and are talking to people all over the world.
Yeah. And I think in reality, like, what keeps me up at night is like small businesses. I feel like they're the ones that have the biggest struggle ahead of them. They don't have as many resources. They can't switch markets as quickly. They can't switch who they're buying from. So it's a little bit more of an issue for them, I think. Like big businesses, they'll be fine. They have money, they have lots of time and people, but like if you're like a 2, 3, 4 person business and you're all trying to figure this out and tariffs have never really impacted you all that much, you are learning about the tariffs and then on top of it figuring out what to do. But what I have seen a lot of small businesses do is like make the hard decision of like, okay, well then we have to pivot and we won't be doing US anymore. We'll have to switch where we're selling our products and where we're targeting and our marketing is. And so they're switching first to other English speaking countries because that's an easy like pivot for them. And then some of them are even looking at other countries that is maybe another language that their product may be really popular in. So I think that diversifying not only where you're buying from, but where you're selling to is really going to be super helpful.
Yeah, and I actually saw an Instagram post by a company called Passion Planner. If you haven't heard of them, go and check them out. They did a whole carousel of how the import tariffs are affecting them and how they have to think about their culture and the people that work for them, because with 125%, they have to cut somewhere because the customers aren't going to pay necessarily $150 for an agenda or a planner or whatever that looks like. And they did a great job with the carousel to really talk about how it affects small business, but not only that, how they have to think about it too, right? Which, there's a lot to think about when you're a small business. Some of them are pivoting to less product driven and more service driven. And, what does that mean? And I think what that means is holiday shopping season is coming up. And I'm wondering from each one of you before we go, should we panic about empty shelves or crazy prices, or is there hope yet? Crissy, I'm going to start with you.
It's interesting. This is usually the time of year that holiday production decisions have been made and we start ramping up production. That's going to put deliveries right in that period of uncertainty. It can be great or it can be awful. And so for customers that typically have delayed holiday purchasing decisions and plan to rely on domestic inventory, you're going to need to buy that domestic inventory early because the uncertainty is just so great across the entire market. It makes it very difficult for planning or forecasting. And you just have to be, again, very agile, flexible, and adjust your expectations. It's not going to be business as usual.
Well, and take advantage of the 90 days. I mean, we've got to ramp up now to have production because peak season is July. It's only around the corner. If it takes 8 weeks to produce something.
Yeah, there's got to be in order to deliver it before. And you're going to have a whole lot of industries that are all going to be competing for those same containers to bring them over. And it's going to be a mad scramble, I anticipate.
Crazy. Manish, what do you think? Is with holiday shopping around the corner, should we be panic buying?
Yeah, when you asked that question, I thought about what happened to the toilet paper during the pandemic.
Fair.
Everybody hogged it, and then shelves was empty, and then suddenly it came back fast. Prices up and down. We saw what happened to the shipping cost as well. Containers went up 10x. So all that we have experience from a couple of years ago. We should be learning from that and applying that. So I think there's going to be a lot of challenges. Prices will go up, but I think if you think about the consumers, what are they going to do, right? So I believe that's going to force them to innovate, new ideas on how to gift during holidays. Even day to day, we're learning that in some cases they're okay with slightly lower quality because it's cheaper. I think buying used goods is more so as well. Speaking of the holiday gifts, I think it's people who come up with unique ideas. It's the spirit of the holiday. It's more about that than the actual gift that you're buying. So these challenges will lead to some innovation by the consumers, I believe.
Such a great point. Thrifting and maybe experience buying as well. Jen, I want to give you the last word. What do you think everybody should know moving into the next couple months?
I think what we're going to see for the holidays specifically is like, we're going to see the shelves will have product there. Like we've already seen, like people are panic booking containers left and right now. So like, I think there's going to be a lot of front loading of inventory. So I don't think there won't be things to buy. I think they'll be pretty expensive, but I do agree. Like, I think that thrifting, giving of experiences and like people getting really creative is probably what we're going to see a lot of, like trending probably on TikTok pretty soon, to see like what people are actually going to get for their loved ones or whatever. So I think it'll be an interesting maybe unique holiday season.
Absolutely. So will your next Amazon haul cost double, or maybe will shelves go bare by December? Maybe, maybe not. But now you've got the scoop, the strategy, and the secrets to stay savvy. Want more trade tea, price hacks, and behind the scenes business moves? Stick around because we're just getting started, and we've got some more breaking news coming at you in just a couple of weeks. I want to say thank you to Crissy, Manish, and Jen for joining me today. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, and that's it for us here at Let's Talk Supply Chain News.